And we back.
We back.
We back. Well, I'm back. You were always here.
I
You
didn't
held
leave.
down.
I haven't left. Yeah,
Yeah, you had to hold down the fort.
I did.
I mean, somebody did. Somebody.
I
had
think
to.
I did a good job too. By the way, I think I did pretty well.
You did. I saw content going out like crazy. Then again, it could be just the fact that like every single time I got into a service range, my phone would
just
blow up with like
bombarded with stuff,
notifications.
Yeah, I bet.
It was it was a nice little ringtone extravaganza just about once every 2 days. What is up, Nerf Herders? We are back. I am back from vacation and trying to be productive again, and it is
Sorry. Go ahead. You're good.
It is not going well.
It's not going well. What?
Oh man, I am not in work mode. I am not in back to work mode yet.
Well, who is after a vacation like yours? How was it, by the way? Short version. How was it?
Oh, it's great. Drove about 2,500 miles total.
Wow.
Only got to camp 1 out of the 3 nights that we had planned on because COVID shut down a bunch of campsites. Got probably some of the best landscape photos I've ever gotten in my life so far.
Ooh, good for you.
And ate way too many carbs.
Yeah. I hear that.
I gained probably about 10 pounds on that vacation. So
yeah.
So yeah, I come back and Monday I get to jump right back into work, and a bunch of major projects are starting to fire up, and I get to start a diet at the same time. So, and a workout.
Yeah. Welcome to Monday.
Yeah. That's my Monday. How is your Monday, sir?
My Monday was good. I went to work, did some filming. Been doing a lot more filming lately at work. So that was, I had a good weekend. I went up to Charles City to see my dad for Father's Day. And drove back home yesterday. I was super tired, but it was good today. So, but last week in your absence, I was trying to get some content out there. So I had my friend Allie on, and then I had my friend Mark on. And I don't know if you've seen those episodes, but they had a good time. They want to come back.
I'm all for that. I have not gotten a chance to look at any of them. As soon as I got back, okay, so quick story. Now I kind of recapped this in my Fallen Order playthrough because this is exactly what it's about. But as soon as my trip was like coming to a head, like I needed to pack, I needed to get everything ready to go. I was like, all right, I have to edit. I have to edit a few videos. Like I finished editing a few videos, and I've got a template built for the Fallen Order playthrough videos because they're super low effort on my part. I don't do a whole lot with them. Kat, you gotta go.
They're supposed to be super low effort. One would hope so.
For this playthrough, because it's a game that I've already played and just what it was going for is supposed to be simple. But I open up my folder where all my footage and all my audio is supposed to be, and so I had 13, 14, and 15 to do. The audio is there for all the episodes, and then the video is there for 14 and 15, but not 13.
Oh no!
So I am absolutely positive that I forgot to hit the record button when I was recording that first, because I recorded all 3 of them in the same night.
Right. Okay.
And it just my heart sank, and I was like, I don't have time to because I have to go through the entire game to get back up to that point. In that particular game, there's no replay this mission or anything like that. So I had to go back through and play through the entire game again to get back up to that point. And it was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this before I go on vacation and make up for all this stuff. So yeah, as soon as I get back, I banged out all those. So I think the first 2 episodes, I think 13 and 14 are already out. So you got 1 more episode left to post. So if you've not subscribed to the YouTube channel and you're interested in that commentary playthrough series, that will be finished here pretty soon. So
I know people have been liking it. So,
and immediately after getting back, I also had to dive right back into the videos that I get paid to edit and film and all that stuff. So I had just enough time to watch the episodes of Clone Wars that I needed to in order to talk about it today. And
nice. That's going to be the end of the show tonight. Yeah.
Edit a bunch of videos and then try and just sort of get caught up on what I missed throughout the last week.
So are you telling me on that issue, that episode of your playthrough that you forgot? So you're telling me you forgot to press record on Audacity, like we forgot to press record on Audacity for this episode?
Oh no.
I just realized.
Oh no.
You're saying this, and I'm like,
Oh
wait,
no.
we
All right, I'm just
It's
gonna do
okay.
that. I'm just gonna do that right now. How's that?
You want to do it right now? I was
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
say
just
we can get the audio from later, but yeah,
We'll just do it right now.
just do it right now. Tell me when to go.
All right, recording in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh,
You're saying this, and I'm like, oh no, we
Oh,
forgot.
dude, all right. Yeah, we're just gonna do 2 claps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right.
This is what we do before each episode, folks. So now you see.
You got a little behind the scenes there. That's
Yeah.
nice. That's
Well,
nice.
I wanted to get something out of the way because we got a few things to talk about tonight. But last week I released my Gantz, I don't know anime episode on Gantz, and I talked about Gantz the series, the anime series, and then I also reviewed the live action movies. But I didn't talk about Gantz O because I wanted to do the live reaction on that, and I filmed the whole thing. I figured we could, we're going to talk about maybe doing something for Patreon or something like that where we could show the whole thing there, but then I was going to edit it down for YouTube. And I used the platform we're using without the knowledge that it has issues with Adobe Premiere. And basically, I could not salvage any of that footage. So I was teasing all last week that I was going to drop the reaction video for Gantz O, and I didn't get a chance to do so. So I just thought I would give my quick thoughts here.
We've just been riddled with
I know,
technical difficulties.
I know that's the theme. That's the theme. Have you seen any of the Gantz stuff? Am I talking nonsense to you when I talk about this stuff?
So, you not knowing anime, I'm gonna be in the same boat. I do not know a lot of anime. CC watches a lot, so I've caught on to kind of some of the stuff that she's done, but I haven't gotten into any deep cuts beyond like Studio Ghibli stuff.
Okay. Well, a quick recap. I liked the series. I thought the series was bogged down with too much nudity and sexuality and language. And I thought it was possibly a dubbing issue because the language didn't come across in the subtitles. It came across only in the dubs. And I didn't think it focused on the concept, which the concept is these people have died. They get brought back into this room with this black ball that's called Gantz. And Gantz sends them out into a city to kill aliens. That gives them these cool black suits and these cool futuristic guns. And if they survive the mission, they get brought back and they can go live their life for a bit until Gantz brings them back. And the only way they can get out of this reoccurring cycle is to earn 100 points. And you get so many points for killing so many aliens. If you get 100 points, you can elect to leave the game for good, or you can elect for bigger weapons, or you can elect to respawn somebody that died. If you died in the game, you died in real life. So that's the quick thing. My problem with the series is that it didn't show enough of the aliens. It focused too much on this main character that I found unlikable a lot until the very, very end. He was horny. It was too much about sex, not enough about the concept that was really cool to me. So then they came out with this live action, or not live action, the CGI movie a couple years ago called Gantz O, and it's on Netflix right now. It's rated R, and I wasn't sure if it was a sequel or a remake or what. It's kind of both. But basically, if you've never seen any of the Gantz content before, you can walk into this movie cold, which is really cool because there's so much Gantz out there that I was afraid of this. But basically, it follows this main guy here named Kato, and he dies in a subway, and he wakes up in a room with all these other people, and they're telling him, hurry up, get on your black suit. You're going to be sent out on a mission. And they all get sent to this city called Ahsoka, and it is full on overrun with aliens. And I mean, these things are big, small, Godzilla level, and it is crazy violent and crazy insane. And they have to just stay alive one night and somehow kill this godlike alien by the end of it. And in my reaction, I got into full spoilers. I'm not going to do that here because I don't want to dedicate the whole episode to it. But anyway, I loved it. It was crazy violent. It had some great themes to it. The characters were great. I really cared about these characters. I was invested in whether or not they lived. And then the twist at the end, I was like, oh my gosh, I was floored. As a fan of the series, I was like, wow, they really nailed the ending on this. And it just made me want so much more. And to learn that Sony Pictures is working on an adaptation of this, of the Gantz material for the US market, I'm stoked because it's a really cool concept. This movie did well, but I want to see more of it.
So like I'm just looking at like when I moused over the trailer inside Netflix, just or not the trailer, but the actual film.
Yeah.
Man, it did not look like CGI on this small screen. Like they did a really good job on the visuals on this.
It is very clean. I mean, I was blown away by the graphics of this. It is so awesome. And they don't waste time. One of my complaints about the series was that it had some cool moments, but then there was a lot of filler with, just waiting until the next mission. They throw you into this and then it is high octane until the end. And the creatures are scary and they're intense. And every time you're like, how is this person going to win? And yet they do, but then there is a serious sense of peril in this whole thing because they don't all win. And I loved it. It was great.
It's like the list of stuff that you've suggested for me that I'm still behind on is it just keeps getting longer and longer.
Well, I'm sorry. The live reaction didn't work out for people. I know a lot of people wanted me to see this. I'm very grateful. Maybe I'll post a spoiler talk on it just to dive deeper because there are some thoughts that I really want to get out there. So maybe I'll just do that. But I felt really bad and I felt really defeated because I thought it was a really good reaction video. And we've talked about this. I don't want to be one of those people on YouTube that films a reaction to something I've already seen. I want these to be genuine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I seriously was in that moment. I was like, do I do this again? Do I watch this whole movie again? And then it was just like, no, I just know it wouldn't be genuine. And I just felt defeated. So that's why nothing came out from this, from last week, but maybe I'll post a discussion on it later, but yeah, just want to give an update on that.
I'm assuming that it's dubbed, the Netflix film version.
Yeah, you can watch it dubbed or subtitled. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the dub's not bad.
Well, I'd probably watch it subtitled just to like see it as it was intended.
Sure.
I don't mind reading some subtitles. It just means that I can't watch it in the background. That's really the only thing that happens is that it's not a edit and watch at the same time kind of thing.
Well, that was my issue with the series was that the dub and the subtitles were so drastically different. Like the subtitles were not full of language and were a different tone. And the voice for the main character in the dubbed was just so whiny and high pitched and complainy and filled with language that it was just so over the top that I was having a hard time liking the character. The dubbed voice actors for Gantz were fantastic. I mean, I felt that they really fit the character. I felt that they weren't over the top. Granted, I wasn't switching back and forth to check the dub with the sub, but I didn't have that problem here. So I think you could watch it in either. Either way, I'd suggest watching it because it was fun.
I continuously believe that I'm doing myself a disservice by not getting as much intake of anime as I do, or as I should. And yeah, just scrolling through like the recommend, like, so as soon as I typed in Gantz, it brought up a bunch of different titles here. Now, one I happen to know is not recommended, and it's actually the live action version of Death Note. I know a lot of people were kind of crapping on that, but that looked familiar right off the bat. Looks like a lot of these actually that came up are live action renditions of anime. And they're the Netflix versions too. So we got Full Metal Alchemist here.
Yeah.
Bleach, which in their instead of having like the category taglines like mind bending, slick, and exciting for Full Metal Alchemist. For Bleach, they just have the Rotten Tomatoes score. Like
Well,
there's no category to it; just says Rotten Tomatoes score, 67% fresh.
speaking of Bleach, Allie, my friend, they've been watching a lot of anime, and they've been hardcore suggesting that for me. And I won't do it for, I don't know, anime, because I'm trying not to do series because they take longer. But similar to Clone Wars, Bleach's final season, which they never thought would happen, is about to come out later this year or the beginning of next year, and to finish up the story that's in the original manga. So that alone makes me want to start watching Bleach because I know they're going to finish the story. If I know they don't finish the story, I kind of get really mad when I watch something. So
yeah, that kind of ruined The Walking Dead for me. Actually, was like because when I started watching Walking Dead, they were just I think they were doing season 5 at the time, and and at that point I was like, okay, I'll get started into it, and then I mean, not necessarily that the story didn't have an end, but the story doesn't seem to have an end, and it's not going to. It seems that they're just going to keep it going and all that, and I'm fine with individual character ends and all that stuff, but still, that makes it kind of tough for me to start up a series too. I mean, unless it's just really good throughout the whole thing. Like if it's really entertaining and I don't see an ending, I mean, it sucks, but at least it was a good show.
Right. Well,
Man, there's
if you
a lot
want
of
to,
stuff in here that I need to get into, but
well, maybe you could do some, I don't know, anime episodes too. It doesn't just have to be me.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do one together or something like that.
Yeah, we
Like,
could do some
throw me some
live
on your list, and
reactions.
I'll see if I can like drop into one at the same time or something like that.
Hell yeah. Well, do you want to go to the next topic that's been blowing up my Facebook all day today? I don't know if it's been blowing up yours.
No, I haven't. So we're talking about McDonald's, right?
No, we're talking about
Okay.
Keaton coming back as Batman. I mean, literally, this was all over my Facebook today, clickbait titles and all. But have you looked into this at all?
No, this is my. I mean, aside from seeing it in your show notes, this is my first. This is my first introduction to. I mean, is it clickbait or is it?
It's clickbait in the way that it was announced. So comicbook.com, which they're getting to be pretty bad. I mean, they're not, we've got this covered level, but they've been getting to be pretty bad lately. They've changed it now because they were getting so much shit earlier today. But originally their title was Michael Keaton to play Batman in Ezra Miller's Flashpoint movie. That was their headline. And everybody was like, oh my gosh. And then they click into the article, and the article says Michael Keaton is in talks to play Bruce Wayne, but the deal has not been completed, or any movement on the deal yet. So people were like, okay, that's a really clickbait title. It's either he's in talks or he's going to play it. And now they've changed it to Michael Keaton in talks to play Batman. But basically, the news is that apparently Ezra Miller's The Flashpoint movie is still coming, which a lot of people didn't know if it was because of Ezra Miller's controversy lately. But according to these rumors, they're talking about bringing Michael Keaton back to play Batman in part of the Flashpoint multiverse. And then further along, they're saying, and originally they were talking about Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing this character, but now they're talking about Michael Keaton doing it. And there's further rumors saying that if this happens, Keaton would have a larger role in the ongoing DC universe, similar to Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury role in the MCU. Somehow Keaton's Batman would be a figure that keeps on coming up in the films. No real details on that, but that seems to be the theme. So what are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, if they're doing it just for I mean, if they're gonna have him included in here just as like fan service or something like that, I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, doesn't really that doesn't his character obviously isn't going to be like the main focal point around the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and so I guess I don't really care which actor plays it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like his story, so it's kind of like, all right. I mean, if that's what you want to do, um, the I get a little nervous that they're drop like it almost feels like they're dropping his name just to build up some hype for a DC movie because so far they haven't really been doing that great.
Oh, it definitely feels like that.
And
Yeah.
it just feels like they're just like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna bring back
Mhm.
old Batman to get people excited. But honestly, it's gonna backfire if this movie ends up not being that good. Because then or if it ends up like not necessarily not being that good, but falling into kind of like the same vein as the other DC films have, aside from Wonder Woman, to where they don't perform super well or the reception to them is not great. And then it feels like they brought him in for nothing. I was like, then
Yeah.
it'll really only feel like they brought him in just to be like, just a name drop. I was like, oh, we got a Batman that DC fans pretty universally liked, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what happens.
I feel
I,
like I'm still not convinced that this movie will happen. Ever since Justice League's lackluster performance, and basically Warner Brothers coming out and saying, you know, the DCEU is dead. We're going to move forward in a different way. I have felt that the Flashpoint movie was question marks all over the place, and it's been dead silence until Ezra Miller brings up something, or you know, the director that's currently attached randomly tweets something, but then there's like movement on it for a little bit and then it goes silent again. And then especially with Ezra Miller's controversy lately, that video that surfaced a month ago of him choking a woman at a pub in England, that's not good. It's not good. It doesn't look good, and Warner Brothers has been really silent on it. I mean, I understand their predicament because Ezra Miller is the Flash currently. He's also big in their other property, the Fantastic Beasts movies. So I'm sure they're kind of like, well, shit, what do we do? What do we do here? Either way, they haven't commented officially on it, but it feels like, I mean, you know, originally when Flashpoint was part of the Snyder universe, they had already set up who this was going to be. They showed Jeffrey Dean Morgan as uh, um, Thomas Wayne in Batman v Superman,
yep.
and the one of the main parts of the Flashpoint storyline, as far as the comics and the animated movie, was that the Flash goes into an alternate universe and sees Thomas Wayne as a different
As
version of
Batman.
Batman. Right. So we were thinking that that was going to be Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So is this saying that, well, now they're talking about switching that out? Is this a different multi-universe? It
Well,
feels to me
are
like they're just dropping a name to see if they can gauge excitement for it.
also are they talking about switching Jeffrey Dean Morgan out, or did Jeffrey Dean Morgan be like, no, I don't want to do this again? I
I
was like,
mean,
I mean,
I can't
were there
imagine he'd
other
say no to a big budget movie, but
well, I mean, what else does he have on the table at the time? Like, I mean,
not much. I just saw him in a really terrible directed DVD pool shooting movie,
well,
and
sure,
it
but
was,
that's already done. Like, we're not talking about stuff that he would be
well,
working on at
yeah,
the same
that's
time.
right.
Like, we don't know what he would be
Talking about
like.
shooting schedule and things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know what
Yeah.
he'd be conflicting with or what he's been offered or
Right.
where all that's gonna go. Um, I don't know. This just feels like a name drop.
Yeah.
It's really all it feels like to me. And
Well, and again, he's
honestly,
in
I don't know that
talks.
much about Flash, so I wasn't really following
Mhm.
their cinematic universe for him. Like I quit out on the Flash series on the CW in like the second season because it
Yeah.
just I like it wasn't necessarily that the show was bad. It's just like the CW series just can't grip me with
Mm.
their characters. And honestly, my feelings were already hurt after Arrow because I watched Arrow up until like what was it? I don't know. It became more about Felicity and Friends basically than anything else. I think at that point I was like, all right, I'm done.
Arrow started so strong, man. I
Oh, it
loved
did,
the
man.
first
Arrow was
season of
great.
Arrow was amazing. So amazing. It did in one season what Smallville took 10 seasons to do. And I loved that. I loved the Arrowverse for a little bit, but then yeah, the more they built onto it, And the longer it went, the more it started to peter out. And this multiverse thing reminds me of the CW's most recent multiverse, where they brought in a ton of people to do these, Ezra Miller included, to do these little cameos in the multiverse. They even, I mean, they made this big thing about, we're bringing X, Y, and Z back, and they brought what's his face that played Robin in the 1960s Batman movie. For 5 seconds, he was literally for 5 seconds in the beginning of an episode, and then he dies off. At least they gave Tom Welling a full scene to come back as Clark, but it was just these throwaway moments that they hyped up, and I'm worried that that's what this is going to be. But then those other rumors about how they're trying to find a way to make Michael Keaton's role this larger role in the universe. It's like, did you not learn anything with the failure of your first universe? No one wants to hear about a DC universe right now. Your biggest DC movie of late has been Joker, which is not connected at all to any of this. So stop talking about this universe and just focus on good single films. If you link them together eventually, cool. But no one wants to hear your MCU mirrored plans right now because you failed to deliver.
And the thing, like the bringing back old characters or bringing back these nostalgic characters from our childhoods, really, at this like for most people that are paying attention to this stuff, it's going to be childhood.
Yeah.
This has been going on for a while now. And like just recently I started seeing a bunch of posts about how like the original, like Jason, the original Red Ranger from like the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, he just got like a cameo in the most recent Power Rangers, which they've done before.
Yeah. I
Jason
saw that scene. It was
Jason
pretty
David.
good.
Yeah,
It was okay.
it was Power Rangers.
It was Power Rangers.
Like,
I like Power Rangers.
they've kept the tone of Power Rangers pretty much aimed at children for the entirety of the series, and
it is not evolved at all.
I am perfectly okay. I am perfectly okay with that because they know their audience and they're sticking with it.
Right.
I actually didn't really hate the Power Rangers movie or Power Rangers Krispy Kreme.
I know, right?
I want to call it that.
I love that movie.
It wasn't that bad of a movie until they morphed, and that was when until the final scene. That was when it kind of started falling apart for me. But
sure,
no, they've been doing stuff like that on TV. They've been doing stuff like, I mean, nostalgic value has a lot of. I mean, their stocks are up in that department, and pretty much every pop culture medium now. And unfortunately, we're going to see more of it. Like,
but
there's no stopping it. Like it's gonna happen again.
But don't spoil it. You know, I think
that would have been a great surprise to see Michael Keaton just kind of like show up, like pop in as Batman. He takes off the cowl and boom, he's like,
oh no, I meant like, if you're gonna bring him back, don't waste it on a movie that clearly you don't have a lot of faith in, because it's been so quiet on the Western Front for this movie for years. And
if it wasn't a cameo, like if it's more than a cameo, then yeah, I can definitely get with you there. But if it's just a quick little cameo thing, like maybe he is just kind of jumping through it, like it's another multiverse situation or something like that.
But people have been asking for Keaton to come back in a very specific role for years, and that has been do the Batman Beyond movie that you've been teasing since 1999 and bring him back as old Bruce Wayne. And I think more people would rather see that than a cameo in a Flash movie that people aren't really excited about right now. And, you know, you're talking about Warner Brothers wanting to turn over a new leaf and step away from this DCEU. What better way to do that than doing Batman Beyond? I mean, that's pushing it forward. That's separating yourself. That's a chance to start over while clinging to something old. I would love to see Keaton in as old man Bruce Wayne for a Batman Beyond saga. I think that'd be insanely awesome.
I mean, it'd be preferable. Like it'd be that's certainly the way that I would go. Like, who would you just out of speculation state? Who would you have play Terry in that.
I
who would
would
you have?
have.
Who would you have playing the new?
I know
Batman Beyond?
exactly who I'd have. I would have the kid from Teen Wolf and American Assassin, and the Maze Runner movies.
Oh, yeah?
What's his name? What's his name? I think he's a great actor. Dylan O'Brien. I would have Dylan O'Brien in there. I think he's awesome. I think he was great in he was the side character that stole the show in Teen Wolf. They built Maze Runner around him, and he carried that series even though it had issues. And then American Assassin, which he did with Michael Keaton, he was badass, dude. He was buff. He looked like he pulled off those scenes. It wasn't a great movie, but his scenes were awesome, and he did it well. So I think he would be perfect for that role. He's young enough yet old enough, and he looks the part to me.
I just think it'd be funny if they threw Tom Holland in there. Be like, hey, guess what? The whole Spider-Man thing's causing a bunch of controversy, and once you're done with that, why don't you hop over here to be Batman Beyond?
Yeah, and Keaton was already in the Spider-Man movies, so you might as well just bring them both over for Batman. Yeah, they could be in everything. The Keaton, Tom Holland, and everything. Yeah, I like it,
dude. Their screen chemistry would already be locked in. We'd be like, you know what?
Exactly.
Same kind of concept, sort of. Like
you already threatened to kill him once. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Oh man, I just think back to that gun scene in Spider-Man: Homecoming now.
I know, right? I just recently watched that.
reveal.
I watched that again the other day, and the reveal. I remember the chills that I got when the reveal. But then later, yeah, that scene in the car when he takes out that gun, and he's like, and I'm like, Marvel, Disney, Marvel. He just took out a gun. I'm like, it was good. It was a good movie, and Keaton was good in
to
that.
shoot a high schooler, and
he's like, "I'll kill your family."
And all that.
I was like, "Oh, Keaton is awesome." That was a great role. He was great in that movie.
He was one of my favorite villains.
Oh yeah,
in the MCU, he's easily one of my favorite villains.
Very grounded, very real villain. Wasn't throwaway, Yeah. Well, I know we want to talk. We got some lightning round stuff, and we got Clone Wars. I wanted to quickly address this because this was a hot topic while you were gone, and it bled over into the weekend, and it's relevant. I wanted to talk about this video. I thought we would play a little bit of it. It's a cop in Georgia, I think, having a hard day, and I want to start this off with, this is not going to be a bashing of a cop session. I want to listen to what this cop has to say and then chat a little bit about it. So let's play the video.
Right now, I'm too nervous to take a meal from McDonald's.
Can you hear it over there?
Because I can't see it being made.
Yep. Okay.
I don't know what's going on with people nowadays, but please, just give us a break. So I decided to come to the McDonald's at Love's on the Ford Avenue exit. And I waited in line to get my food. I had already done my mobile order so that, people don't pay for my stuff, because I just always like to pay for it myself. But I'm on my way home from work.
Yeah.
When I pull up to the window, they hand me my receipt. So I go to the second window to get my food, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And so,
very common thing at McDonald's.
The girl comes to the window and asks me what my order was. I repeat my order and my coffee order, and they asked me to pull up because my food's not ready. It's an English muffin meal with a hash brown and coffee, and I'm still waiting.
Very common thing.
I was gonna say, I have to wait just about every time I used to go to McDonald's.
Yep.
A girl comes out with my coffee, and just the coffee, and she hands it to me, and I have my window down, and that's all she hands me is the coffee. So I told her, I said, don't bother with the food, because right now I'm too nervous to take it. It doesn't matter how many hours I've been up. It doesn't matter what I've done for anyone. Right now, I'm too nervous to take a meal from McDonald's because I can't see it being made. I don't know what's going on with people nowadays, but please, just give us a break. Please just give us a break. I don't know how much more I can take. I've been in this for 15 years, and I've never, ever had such anxiety about waiting for McDonald's drive-through food.
I'll tell you what, lady, I've had anxiety waiting for McDonald's food because you don't know what you're going to get out of that damn thing.
Yeah. And
Um,
then I wanted
you
to
are
fast.
not alone,
My
ma'am.
next couple days off.
She's
just
talking
be
about
so
taking a
chill.
vacation here,
No uniform, no nothing.
but this is how she ends
Just
it.
for a couple days. It'll get better. I know it will. This will whole blow over. But hopefully it blows over sooner than later because I just want some McDonald's. I love you all.
So again, I don't want this to be a bash on a cop session because clearly this woman is under some stress. But what I took away from this is not how dare McDonald's take their time getting. I don't, there was some people that actually went out after that McDonald's and said, "How dare you do this to a cop?" They do that to everybody. It's common practice there.
Your food wasn't okay. So I used to work in fast food. This is a very common practice because when you pull up to as soon as we push the button to start taking your order, a timer starts up.
Right.
And then that timer stays there until that order is like X'd out until they clear it off of the board. Now, obviously, they're a fast food restaurant and they're a franchise and they're a corporate shit. Like they have people watching those numbers, and they're gonna try and lower them down as much as they possibly can. They don't want, and also you've got people behind you who may not be waiting for something. Maybe they're just getting a coffee. They're not waiting on food, or they're not waiting for the high school or college kid inside to remember to put down enough hash browns all at the same time. Like they're cooking your food. It's not up immediately every single time. So having them move you to another stall. First of all, I refuse to believe that this cop has never had that experience before. Like, I mean, if McDonald's is common, first of all, if you're willing to lower yourself to drink McDonald's coffee, you've been to McDonald's before. This is not your first surrender to that situation. I find it incredibly hard to believe that that this will have happened and it's immediately attributed to them messing with your food or something of nefarious nature. It's just not that it's such an innocent issue, and I can see them maybe even having like a scramble inside. Maybe somebody didn't show up that day, maybe tickets got messed around. Oh, well, she had a coffee. We didn't give that to her at the window like we give everybody else their drinks at the window. Go and run her coffee out and let her know how long her food's going to be. Something like that. I understand why she's incredibly nervous and why she's incredibly anxious, but at the same time, it makes me very nervous and anxious that somebody with a loaded firearm on their waist is acting like this.
I mean, that's the thing here. I mean, clearly she's stressed. I believe that is the most genuine thing about this video is that she is under a ton of stress, and she does talk about she does talk about that she has some off time coming up. But here's the thing, it's a lot more than off time. She's talking about she's been a cop for 15 years and she's afraid to take a sandwich at a McDonald's. You're exactly what you said. If she is afraid to get takeout at a McDonald's, what is she going to do in an intense situation where she may or may not have to pull a gun? And this is not a sex thing. This is not a female cop thing. But when I see this
male
video,
cop was doing this, I'd be feeling I'd have the exact same feelings.
Yes, but when I see this video, I think about the female cop in Texas that walked into the wrong apartment and shot the guy that lived there because she wasn't drunk, but apparently she was so stressed and so exhausted that she didn't realize she walked into the wrong apartment. I think about Officer Shelby from Tulsa who killed that black man who was they pulled him over Her partner was right there with the stun gun, and she just opened fire on him with her regular gun because her only excuse was that he was a tall black man and she felt afraid and she was stressed. And again, this isn't about female cops, but this is a if you are this stressed, then perhaps you shouldn't be out on the street, you know. And if you've been on the force for 15 years, then there's no reason to be this stressed. And she ended the video with, I hope this whole thing blows over. What do you hope will blow over? People are mad about Black lives being killed by police. The Black Lives Matter movement is big right now. They're going after cops that are systematically racist is what it looks like, and they're mad about cops that are defending the cops in Minneapolis that were part of the George Floyd incident. What about that is going to blow over? Why are you trying to simplify things? It's no one's going after this person individually, but
that we know of.
That we know of, sure.
So here's the other problem that I have with this video is there's a lot of context that we aren't getting around why she feels this way. Like, what existential circumstances are there that we cannot see?
Sure.
I can tell you. Okay, so there is one video clip that is burned into my brain. Now, I wanted to be a cop when I was in high school. That was one of my ambitions. I wanted to be a cop because I wanted to go into the military, but asthma was a disqualifier. I learned that you could be a cop with asthma as long as you could like work up the physicality that you needed in order to get to where you needed to be. But there was I can't remember. It was on a cable television show. It wasn't on Cops. It wasn't the news, but it was something. They showed dash cam footage of a cop. He did a normal pullover, and I don't know who this. I don't remember who the suspect was. This is, like I said, this was when I was in high school. This is more than 10 years ago. But the officer's walking up there, like it looked like it was just like a routine traffic stop. Like it didn't look like it was anything crazy or anything like that. But he walks up to the car and the driver just shoots him.
Yeah.
Like
I've seen it.
Before the officer even had a chance to say anything, like the person in the car just straight up shoots him and drives off. Like, what the fuck? That's the kind of stuff that I'd be worried about.
Well, there's another clip that's relevant to this of a female cop who pulled over a truck with a large guy and his girlfriend in it, and the footage shows them standing outside of the truck while she's inspecting it, and she comes back to talk to them, and the man just punches her, puts her on the ground, and punches her for about 2 minutes, and then gets up and drives away. And that stuff does happen, and cops are, they are facing those things. It's not said that they aren't.
It is an incredibly dangerous job, under a lot of different circumstances. It is an incredibly stressful job. Yeah, and there are like the example that I gave and the one that you gave, there are real examples of awful things happening to police officers. Honestly, I can't think, like, the worst thing that you could expect to get out of a McDonald's in her situation is either somebody hawked a loogie on your sandwich and you don't eat it.
Yeah.
Or the more likely scenario that you get a sandwich that's super lackluster because they made it and then they let it sit out for fucking ever and now it's not that great anymore. And you ended up waiting for that. But I absolutely sympathize with this officer because I can understand the stresses of something else bleeding into something completely innocent. I understand that completely. Like when you've been brought up to a high level of anxiety, rationality kind of goes out the window.
Yeah.
You're not really thinking in a rational way at that point. And some very innocent things, I mean, your brain can swirl up some very uninnocent things that could occur at the same time. And so So I absolutely understand that, but this particular officer needs to talk to somebody. They're like, because this is the kind of officer who I am actually the most afraid of, is the
Yeah.
one who, like, not necessarily the most afraid of, but because there's officers like her who are willing to be public about this, who are willing to talk to somebody, but there are
Mhm.
also officers who feel the exact same way that she does, who don't want to put that stuff out there, and that stuff's just getting bottled up.
Well,
But
and then you
this
have cops
could
that are
lead to a very, very serious problem when she is put up against a very tense situation. And I mean, yeah, not even involving the gun. Like, maybe she doesn't use it on somebody else. Maybe she uses it on herself or
yeah.
something like that. Like, this is a mentally unstable person. I'm not saying she's mentally ill or anything like that, but she's clearly in a very stressed, very anxious, possibly depressed state. And honestly, I'm a responsible gun owner. I wouldn't want my guns around me if I saw myself like that, or around anybody when I saw him like that. Like, that's not a situation I'd want somebody to have a loaded firearm with, or even a taser, or
I
any even less lethal stuff. Like, can do some pretty serious damage. And when you've got, I mean, when all bets are off, bad things happen.
I think especially in times like now when you are putting your subordinates into increasingly intense situations, training and care are big. I
Yeah,
mean, when you're seeing these videos of these police people in riot gear, side by side with the National Guard, the difference between those two is the National Guard was trained for stuff like that. These cops weren't. These there's military training and there's police training. Police don't get military training. And sure, some of them might be prior military, but you're putting them in situations and that doesn't excuse their actions when some of them go crazy. But you proper training needs to happen. You're one of the guys that were involved in the George Floyd incident was on the police. He was a couple weeks into the
yeah, he was
job.
fresh.
He was fresh. And there's the argument of, well, he doesn't know any better. And then there's the argument of he just got out of training. It should be the freshest thing in his mind. So are they not getting trained enough? And then are they not getting taken care of enough? Because if you've got officers this stressed about McDonald's, that means you're not taking care of your people. And how can it be safe for the public for these people to be on the streets with guns and badges if they're to this level of stress? You got to take care of your people. Every company does this. The police need to do it that much more because they're walking around policing everybody else. And so that's what I really got out of this. I felt sorry for her, and I feel like she needs some help, and her superiors need to be the one giving her that help.
It's kind of another thing that I think about pretty often, is like when you see cops portrayed in the media or something like that, a lot of the time they're with a partner. Like, there's almost always the buddy cop,
Yeah.
sitting shotgun right next to him in right in the same vehicle. But a lot of police officers do not get that. They're riding in
Right.
those cars solo. They're dealing with the situations on their own.
Right.
A lot of time, especially for like these super stressful, high anxiety situations, the buddy system would help a lot. Like, it would really help a lot to have somebody there to, like, who may not be reacting the same way you are, kind of like chill you out, or
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
somebody there to kind of like bounce some of that stuff off of, so you're not just sitting there stewing about it the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to comment on that a little bit. But yeah, do we have any lightning round things we want to talk
Oh,
about before we get into Star Wars?
I got a bunch of lightning round stuff for you. So we got a couple rest in peace. Ian Holm, who played Bilbo Baggins,
Yeah.
unfortunately passed away at age 88. So
Mm-hmm.
he lived a good life. Reportedly, he died peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
He was. It wasn't a rough one. Well, I mean, I assume it was a rough one on him, but he did die peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also had the man who was responsible for Batman and Robin having nipples, and Batman and Robin, Joel Schumacher. He also passed away.
which is crazy because we were just talking about him last week with Allie. Batman Forever turned 25, and Joel Schumacher did some good things, did some bad things. We were talking about how a prose. He brought color. He brought a little life to the Batman films that were lacking from the Tim Burton films, but then he took it a little too far. But then at the same time, if we didn't have people like Joel Schumacher in the business, we wouldn't have got Batman Begins and stuff like that. But he did other movies. He did other movies than Batman. The Lost Boys is a big one that he was a part of. Falling Down is another big one. St. Elmo's Fire. I mean, he was a Phantom of the Opera. He was a part of a lot of movies outside of Batman, and a lot of those are well revered, or at least well liked. So, kind of sad to see him go.
Yeah, there were quite a few other stories. This one's kind of drops into video game news. EA announced on the 19th that a new Skate game is coming. Which, if you're familiar with that, Skate was the name of the franchise. They had 3 games. Interesting that they would announce that they've got another Skate game coming right amongst the announcement of Tony Hawk's remake coming.
Right.
So
interesting.
I don't know that they're necessarily trying to compete or play off of the hype for skating games coming back up. But Skate 4 was actually something that a lot of people were really shooting for. They were really hoping would come down. So that
interesting.
So that was interesting. But it's also EA, and
yeah.
So there's always a question when it comes to EA, and I hope that they've learned their lesson at this point, because when I hear EA right now, like a lot of people, we think, are there going to be microtransactions?
Right.
That will be the bigger news than them announcing that this game is coming, is finding out there'll be microtransactions into it. So we'll stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Microsoft. This one might be a little bit. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, because Microsoft announced today that they will shut down Mixer on July 22nd, which is their live streaming service, kind of like it's kind of like OBS, kind of like YouTube's. Basically, it's a live streaming platform. And so they have shut it down, and they're going to transition those users to Facebook Gaming, which is interesting. Now, I did not use Mixer. I have never used Mixer. Every single time I've ever done live broadcast, like for our podcast here, we use StreamYard. I use Streamlabs for some streaming, and I used Open Broadcasting Software Studio. So Mixer was just kind of another one in a long line of different streaming platforms once streaming really did start to explode. But I don't know. What do you think? Does this really come off as too terrible? Like, Microsoft doesn't seem to be at the forefront of a lot of like newer innovations anymore.
Yeah.
Like, or at least like not outward. I mean, aside from like Xbox and stuff like that, like as far as like this news just didn't shock me too terrible much. Like Mixer, I'm a little bit surprised that they did decide to do a partnership instead of just keeping it going and letting it die off like they let their other stuff die. But
yeah, it's interesting because the only reason I knew about Mixer was because Ninja was on there, and he made a big deal when he left Twitch to play exclusively on Mixer, and that was a huge deal, huge enough for me, who I'm not in that field. I don't watch that field. I just know Ninja by name, so it was big enough for that news to reach me, and I didn't seek out that news. So that's the only reason I knew about Mixer. And that was back in August of last year. So that was a big, I'm sure there was a lot of money involved in that deal. And perhaps that was their home run or their Hail Mary to save their platform. And apparently it wasn't enough, because now we are almost a year out from that. And they're shutting it down and making it part of Facebook Games. And whatever contract Ninja and other people like him had does not transfer over to Facebook Games. They become free agents again. So they are not forced to go over to this Facebook Gaming. So it's interesting.
it'd be interesting to see if they go back to Twitch. But
Right.
Microsoft said that they will provide the Project X Cloud streaming game service to Facebook gaming players, enabling them to play high-end games on any device via streaming technology. Which was another interesting bit. Like this I've heard of before. So the game is actually not running on your machine in that scenario; it's being streamed to your machine.
Right.
And so I've always stayed away from it because like the first thing that I think of is latency issues.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Of course you would.
Yeah, that's the biggest worry for me. But who knows? I feel that's very much where the technology is going to be here before too terrible long. Instead of having to install, like, because games are getting bigger, so instead of having to install like a 50 to 100 gigabyte file onto your console or onto your PC, you just stream it, which to me makes perfect sense. But yeah, that was a little bit of an interesting piece. And then you pulled up some stuff here that you wanted to mention in our yeah, I see
lightning
you
round
had
type thing. Yeah.
so the Michael Keaton Flashpoint was kind of in there.
Well, the movie theaters, we talked a little bit about what was it, Regency, that said that they were, or who was it at first that said they were, I think it was Cinemark said they were going to open up. They weren't going to make people wear masks other than their own employees. And we were like, well, that makes sense because then they can buy concessions. Well, last week, AMC and another one, maybe that was Regency, AMC came out and said the same thing. We're not going to make our patrons wear masks, but our employees are going to wear masks. Within 24 hours, they reversed and said, actually, you know what? We are going to make them wear masks. And it was because of the crazy backlash. So apparently people didn't care that Cinemark said this, but when AMC said this, within 24 hours, they backtracked on that and said, actually, we've changed our minds. We're going to do this. And I'm just...
The quote is hilarious.
Read the quote because I don't have it pulled up.
CEO Adam Aaron said Friday that its theaters will require patrons to wear masks upon reopening, which will begin mid-July. Customers who don't wear masks won't be admitted or allowed to stay. And he is quoted saying, "We think it is absolutely crucial that we listen to our guests. It is clear from this response that we did not go far enough on the usage of masks." So just that wording is like, all right, sorry, we fucked up. It's clear we're going to need to have people wearing masks. And it says that it will defer to local governments, which makes perfect sense. It's like, yeah, follow the rules that are in place. Don't be the part of another wave of coronavirus striking. But I mean, we could argue about that stuff all day. It's like, well, if you're feeling sick, you shouldn't be going to a theater. I was like, well, you could be asymptomatic for like 2 weeks. It was like, doesn't matter.
Right.
Be safe.
And then is it really working if you're taking your mask on and off to eat concessions? Are people not going to order concessions? If they don't order concessions, how are these theaters going to make money? Especially AMC, which is on the verge of bankruptcy. They've been on the verge of bankruptcy for the last 3 months. Every time they're in the news, it's about bankruptcy. So how are they going to make their money? It'll be interesting, but yeah, they reversed that decision real quick.
Then the only bit that we didn't talk about that you threw in here was Cobra Kai is moving to Netflix. Which
Netflix won a bidding war for it.
Oh, they won a bidding war for it.
Yeah, they did.
So YouTube was like, "Hey, you guys want this?"
It's interesting because Cobra Kai. Think about it. When YouTube Premium initially launched, Cobra Kai was their flagship. It was like, we're going to have our own content like Cobra Kai. They did a couple tease things, like you could watch the first episode for free, but then you had to order the platform. Well, ever since then, even though Cobra Kai has continued to be a great show, YouTube Premium has become nothing more than just, you don't get ads and you can have some extra features. And I'm one of those suckers that pays for YouTube Premium, but let's be real. Nobody pays for YouTube Premium for original content because they've stopped making it. And enough people wanted Cobra Kai to survive. So I guess YouTube put it out there and Netflix won it. And I'm very happy because I'm super excited for more Cobra Kai. And now there's talks about Netflix even expanding it beyond that show and having spinoffs or whatever. Who knows? But I want more.
It's really interesting seeing here that it's basically because YouTube wants to get out of the scripted space.
Yeah.
So the original content that they produce, they don't want scripted, which
right.
fine.
Which and yet that this is the movie that brought them into that scripted space. That this was the series that they launched with.
Well,
So,
I mean, if you really think about it, it kind of served the purpose that it wanted at the time. But when it was over, like honestly, like you said, I don't think enough people signed on to YouTube Premium in order to get a hold of it than what was necessary. And also, a figure that I haven't seen was like, what was the piracy like for that series? It's like,
yeah, I can only imagine.
Just being streamed to YouTube for the amount of people who were already premium users. First of all, there was a huge incentive for YouTube Premium, because I watch a lot of YouTube, was just getting rid of fucking ads.
I know
Like,
ads and
that
being
was the
able to
biggest
download
part.
stuff and also being able to swipe on your phone and do something with YouTube playing in the background. Those are the main reasons why I keep it.
Oh,
But I
man.
shoot myself in the foot every time I get charged $12 a month for it. Like, why are you a slave to YouTube right now? So yeah,
I don't know, that it made perfect sense to me at the time. And I've kind of forgotten. It's one of those subscriptions that I've kind of forgotten happens every month. I'm just like, whatever. I'm not going to change it.
But they really only had this and Logan Paul's movie / series, and then those went away. And then it was what else do you have?
They had a bunch of stuff, but yeah, none of it really leveled out because people just weren't terribly interested in it.
Right.
And honestly, like a lot of people's like when you're having specific YouTube creators, especially the really popular ones, creating content that is arguably different from the content that they're already making, specifically to have it behind a paywall, the fans that are watching that person probably aren't going to jump into that, might not jump into that content because it's not what they started watching that person for in the first place.
Sure.
Like, if we started putting out, like a scripted skit show and expected all of our subscribers to sign on to, like, it wouldn't happen, like, because it's not at all it's not what we do. It's not what people see us doing on a regular basis. So they don't really have a whole lot of an incentive to see how we would do inside that different genre. Like, I'm a fan of PewDiePie. Like, I can watch his videos and laugh, but like his Scare PewDiePie series that was on YouTube Premium, I haven't seen a single episode of it. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, because it's not the content that I looked into him for. Like,
right.
It was the same thing for Will Smith had something paid on there, didn't he?
He did, but it didn't last. So I don't even know what
Well,
it was.
I don't even watch his regular channel. So
yeah.
Like, if there was somebody who I would expect, if there was somebody who put their stuff behind the YouTube paywall, that I would probably pay for, it'd probably be either Jablinski, which is Jack Black's channel, or Kevin James. If some of Kevin James's stuff, like if he was like, you know what, I love doing these shorter clips, but I'm making longer ones, but I need money for those, I'd be all right. Yeah, absolutely. Like,
Speaking of, if you haven't seen Kevin James's newest sound guy with what's his name?
Is it I think I saw he did one for
what's his name that plays Lincoln and
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And the graphics are actually pretty good because Daniel Day-Lewis like touches him like several times. They did really well with the editing for that. So it was scene from Let There Be Blood or something like that. The oil movie. It's fantastic.
He had another one that I just watched again recently, and it was
was it a sound guy one or something else?
Yeah, it was a sound guy one. But it was one of the cheesy romantic movies.
Oh, the Ryan Gosling What Do You Want scene? Was it that one? The Notebook? Yeah. Yeah. That was good.
Yeah, that was...
What do you want? That's great. That was one of his first ones. So yeah. I love Kevin James's channel. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
if like if that ended up behind a paywall, I'd be all right. But
Yeah.
no, that kind of wraps up the lightning round news. I really want to talk about Clone Wars.
I know it's an hour and 5 minutes into this podcast. We haven't talked about Clone Wars, so let's talk about Clone Wars. You finally got to see the second arc, which has been dubbed Ahsoka's Journey of season 7, the second of 3 arcs. Tell me, talk to me about it. What were your thoughts? Do you want to do a brief recap of what the arc was about first, or what?
Okay. All right, so we had to go a full season of the show and then another arc without hearing anything about Ahsoka having left.
Right.
And so I'm angry, and then I find out that her arc is coming up. I'm like, all right, cool, finally.
Here we go.
Let's get some stuff.
Yes.
And then they let my ass down by having her scrounge around in the Undercity for a little bit with a couple sisters from the Undercity who are just trying to make their way. Like, man, it did not feel like a season 7 arc to me. It let me down so hard. It let me down so hard.
I feel like, and I was going back and watching the comments from this, like the blogs around the time that this was coming out. A lot of people were upset about the first arc, which you loved, but people thought it was
great.
They thought it was too long. They thought it dragged on. And man, when I was reading that, I was like, oh my God, what did you think about this arc? Because I felt this arc was so long and so dragged out and it didn't matter. I mean, it didn't even link up.
Like why wouldn't, okay. So as a part of the recap, I have not watched further. The last episode I saw was the last one in her arc. So she makes the choice to go with Satine's sister, whose name I can't remember, but the ex-Death Watch Mandalorian.
Yes. Who shows up, which that was cool. I was like, oh, finally, we're linking back to some stuff I've been waiting to see.
But that amounted to fucking nothing.
I know. And it took so long to get there.
It took so long to get there. And honestly, the choice that had to be made in order to accelerate the plot with the Pikes, where their sister's like, I'm not losing my ship. I'm not losing my ship. I'm just going to dump this spice. There's no way that you can tell me that person is naive enough after hearing all the stuff about the Pikes.
Yeah.
Dealing with the gangsters that she's dealt with already, who were like, yeah, we're going to, like, she got mugged basically in her own garage by a set of gangsters before. And they're talking about how dangerous the Pikes are. And she's like, oh, I'll just dump this spice. They'll have absolutely no problem with that. And we'll just be able to go on our way. No, like, are you fucking kidding me? That is the direction that you're going to go in order to push this plot along, in order to give Ahsoka a conflict about, like, it really just seemed like this big long circle that they were drawing out in order to give her some sort of conflict about the Jedi yet again. And the point in the series where I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere, or wasn't going to go anywhere that I wanted it to, or that I was going to be happy with, is when Anakin senses her on the ship. Like, and well, they kind of sense each other on the ship as they're leaving Coruscant. Right then, I was like, send somebody out, like, send out something to arrest her. Let's have some sort of a conflict. Let's have her and Anakin kind of be at odds. Let's see how they go. Let's have something there. Nothing. It's like, no, it's nothing. Let it go. I'm like, come on. And then they just drag it out with these Pikes with, like, how many escapes and recaptures did we see? Like 3?
Yeah. There was one episode where they started in jail, escaped, and then ended in jail. And it was just like, what was the point of
and then escaped again, and then the next episode escaped and then got kind of captured and then escaped again.
Right.
And I can't comprehend how weak it was. Like, I was so excited because we finally got to see Ahsoka, and honestly, they could have gotten to where I think they were going to get to without trying to make her feel guilty about being a Jedi when Zero the Hutt was being busted out of jail. Like there were so many other ways that they could have gone about. Like they could have had her hook up with Death Watch like right away. Like Death Watch finds out, or I can't call him Death Watch because that's not who they are anymore. But but ex Death Watch realizes that they have an enemy with Darth Maul. They need help. They try and reach out to, like, Satine's sister knew who Obi-Wan was. Maybe she goes there to find him. She sees Ahsoka leaving. She's like, oh, she's friggin' like she overhears, or they use surveillance. She's leaving the Jedi Order. Holy shit. We're going to snatch her up. She could probably help. And then go from there. None of that. They had to waste 4 episodes of my fucking life to make her feel bad about being a Jedi because 2 sisters lost everything that they had because of their chase with Zero the Hutt, which happened fucking forever ago in the series.
And it wasn't even a big part of it. Like everybody's argument, there's several people that have made that argument to me that said this was vital to Ahsoka having issues with the Jedi. No, it wasn't. The reason she left. Exactly. And if it was a big part, it was literally a part of a side conversation that was had and then gone away with. That was not the theme of these episodes. I got to do a quick recap of what this is. So basically, Ahsoka goes down to level 1313. She crashes.
She crashes on 1313. Who knows where she was trying to get to, because we don't get to that.
She runs into she runs into Trace Martez, who is she's repairing her own ship. She's working on her own ship. They kind of meet this
mech bay.
Yes, they kind of have this friendship that's developing. She's, they help each other out, but Trace has been down in this underworld for a while, and she's the mechanic. Her sister is the one always doing these seedy deals. Her sister is, was it Rafa Martez? Yeah, Rafa, who, and this is the theory for why these episodes went on so long. Rafa is voiced by Elizabeth Rodriguez, who's big with Orange is the New Black. It was a big name to pull over to this series. So there's a lot of talk of it's a lot of talk of, maybe they gave them a lot more screen time for that. Either way,
annoyed the piss out of me too.
Yes, but she is apparently, the more, in the negative things of the underworld, but it's not like Trace is this oblivious person. She's lived down there in the underworld, and yet when things get crazy, they get this job to deliver spice to some bad people, and when things get crazy, Trace just dumps the spice in space, and it's like, has she not lived in the underworld all this time to know that was the worst decision she could ever make?
Yeah.
And then, of course, they get in trouble, and then they get captured, and then it's back and forth. And by the end of this, there's a tag they find out that Darth Maul has some conversations with the bad guys, and that is the pull into, it's all relating back to things because Darth Maul is in it. But you have to watch 4 episodes to get to that part, and it's just like, you've wanted Ahsoka for all this time, and instead of getting an Ahsoka story, you get a Martez sister story about the 2 dumbest people in the world who just happened to lose their parents because of incident with the Jedi. And it's covered in a maybe a 30-second conversation, and yet 4 episodes with these people, and there is no development at all with any of the characters, and no development with Ahsoka. She is not a changed person by the end of it. There's nothing. There's nothing to, and if this was a 21 episode season or 24 episode season like some of the previous ones, it might have been more forgiven. But this was literally a third of the final season, and it annoyed the shit out of me. I was like, this is what we get when we've been aching for Ahsoka.
So you actually hyped me up for it too, because like before I had seen it, you were saying I'm really excited to see what you think of this one. And at this point in our relationship together, I've got to know that means something about it really sucks.
Yes.
Because you really just badly want to hear me freak out about something.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy because I was livid when I was watching these. Livid.
So, I don't know if you want to consider this a spoiler, but I looked at the reviews on IMDb for the whole season. They are the 4 lowest reviewed episodes in the season, and
I believe it
for very good reason. I saw the next 4 ratings. I'm not reading the descriptions. I'm trying to skip over that stuff.
Don't do it.
But they're all like the lowest one out of all of them is the first episode of the final arc. Old Friends Not Forgotten. It's at a 9.8 out of 10.
A 9.8 is the lowest.
The other 3 are 9.9. And then
That's crazy.
These 4, Gone with a Trace, first episode is 6.5, 6.2, 6.0, and then 7.2.
And that's generous.
And that final episode was the one where I was like, all right, finally, like we should have gotten here so much faster. So much faster.
This did not need a 4-episode arc
showing up in there.
Yeah. You could have cut this down to 2 episodes.
If they really wanted to have it like kind of like spin into there, we needed to see Darth Maul in like episode 2 and like the second episode of this arc, spinning the wheels for this whole entire thing, knowing that Ahsoka was involved and like having that whole thing be spun around. You can still keep the Mandalorians keeping things kind of secret and stealthy and all that stuff, but manipulating things as best they can and targeted guerrilla attacks or something. I don't know.
Yes.
But they just, oh God, it was just such a bore fest. And honestly, like if I had gone into this without my Star Wars fandom, like if I was just watching this into a TV show, this would probably be what would make me stop watching the show.
Yeah.
Is to just see it's like we're halfway through the season and we're just now getting to like, and they're leaving us with like this big open-ended plot now. Like, really?
Not to mention
knowing that there are only 4 episodes left is like, well, obviously her arc is going to continue, like,
right?
Because they left this open. Like this was the final season, so now I know for a fact that Ahsoka is going to be in the next, at least 1 out of the next 4 episodes.
Yeah, and the other thing I really didn't like about it was, okay, the season 6, it felt like some of that could have been just like outtakes from previous seasons, but other ones felt and other ones felt and had dialogue to support that it happened after some time that Ahsoka's been gone. You had other Jedis saying, how have you been dealing with losing your Padawan and stuff like that? Time had passed. Even the first arc of season 7, you can tell time has passed. But this, the way it starts like this is immediately after Ahsoka left. Like it literally is her riding her flying motorcycle thing away from the Jedi Temple. And I mean, they could have spent these 4 episodes talking about where Ahsoka's been all this time. Yeah. And yet it feels like this was right after, and the whole 4 arcs are like the 2 days after she left. And then we get the final arc, and it's like, this just did nothing. It just feels like there's no, I wanted to see her struggle with her choice and her having a life on her own for a while. I would see 4 episodes of that, of her just walking alone in life. But instead we got this, and it's just disappointing.
So like there was one particular part of it where I was hoping that they were going to expand on it, but they didn't do a good job. Like she had like the moment where Trace actually tells her just mentions in passing, basically the Jedi we're not worried about the Jedi starting wars and stuff like that. Well, the Jedi didn't start the war. They're trying to end it. Sure they are. And it's like, have her still have that connection to the Jedi Council, because that was the only, like, as the show states, this is the only life that she knew. Of course, she's still going to want to defend them, but then that reality gets hammered into her like continuously. It's still, it felt like they weren't really giving her a chance to like redeem herself into anything else except help out a couple of criminals. like there needed to be something bigger for her to do, like because she didn't accomplish anything. Like
She didn't. She was just
throughout
kind
this
of stuck there.
throughout this 4 arc series, she first of all, she didn't even really sacrifice herself to let the other 2 get away.
Right.
One, because they came back, and 2, she's a Jedi. Like we had nobody in their right mind thought that she wasn't going to make it out of there.
Right.
Like nobody. So
she was faking that she was a Jedi for the whole thing. Like she was just
Yeah.
holding back.
there was
She just didn't want people knowing.
yeah, so there was no emotional impact there.
Yeah.
I was hoping that this would be her going through a setup where she's trying to, maybe she's like trying to give orders, or maybe she's trying to like have that, like be that authority figure that she was so used to being as a Jedi or as a Jedi commander.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, which they kind of did touch on, to where she had like a lot of knowledge about stuff, but nobody was listening to her because she wasn't like an authority and all that stuff.
Right.
But like, and those, like, they were good ideas, but they were executed inside the wrong environment. And after that, doesn't matter how good of an idea they were, there was just no saving it. And honestly, I gotta agree with you. I feel like the IMDb ratings here, like the 6.0, like they're generous. I'm giving these episodes like 4s.
Yeah.
Like these are like in the, like the 4s and 5. Also, never saw a freaking lightsaber. Like that would have been the thing to like definitive been like, all right, yeah, you're a Jedi. Oh no, I just stole this. Like I would have loved for her to have been scrambling with that identity throughout like the entire arc.
Yes. I mean, she had walked away from the world of the Jedi. She had walked away from her being a Jedi,
Yeah.
and all the defenders that I have talked to that have defended this arc say that this arc is vital to her character development, and that it further solidifies her separation from the Jedi. And I was like, no, it didn't. She was trapped as a passenger to the horrible situation that these 2 girls placed her in. They had 30 seconds of a conversation about how the Jedi was involved in the death of their parents, but that was it. You could have, I mean, of all of the ideas of stories that would further make her look inward and make her think about her decision and her disdain for the Jedi, this had to have been at the bottom of the barrel of ideas. It's the weakest premise, and it has barely anything to do with her. And all of her choices have nothing to do with her feelings on the Jedi. They're just, she just doesn't want to see 2 girls be killed because they're idiots. But I mean, this has nothing to do with her internal struggle. She's trapped there. She doesn't have any place to go. Literally, she doesn't have any means of transportation to go anywhere. So it was nothing about personal decisions. It was about her trying just to get through this and us struggling to get through it with her.
That's the other thing that I don't understand. Why is she going into like the criminal undercity for Coruscant? She didn't, like, she got exonerated. She wasn't under arrest. She wasn't a fugitive trying to get away.
Right.
Like she still had connections with plenty of people. You know what would have been a way better arc? If she had hooked up with Hondo.
I know.
And his pirate crew, but like,
or anybody.
That was another direction I thought that it was going to go, because they were talking about pirates screwing them over. Like they went to Kessel too. They wanted to drop that name for a planet. They go to Kessel. They don't even like mention the Kessel Run or anything like that. So they did it.
I was waiting
wrong.
for that. I was like, oh no. You're gonna do a Kessel Run.
Oh, dude! As soon as I saw the storms, I was like, "Fuck, they're going to." Kessel.
I was waiting for it, but they didn't do it. So I guess props to them for not picking that low hanging fruit.
But I was so ready for, like, it would have been such a more exciting arc if Hondo had shown up and stolen the spice.
Yeah,
and been like, "Hey, yeah, this spice is ours," and like, no, we need that. We need it for money, and then he finds out that the Pikes are after it, and the Pikes don't give a shit that he's Hondo. They're gonna be like, they're gonna be doing the same thing. It's like maybe he has to team up with them, and he has to like choose between saving like a notorious pirate who has been both hilarious in the show but also a major problem in some situations, or a couple of innocent people who her Jedi Order and like one of her events ruined the lives of.
Yeah,
like that would have been a great moment, and it would have been like, it would have opened up a bunch of doors. And then you find out on top of all that Darth Maul was like playing with both of those factions. Like Hondo was having to steal spice so he could pay off of a crime lord that Darth Maul was using to fucking screw him over or something like that. And then so you've got all those inclusions. You've got Hondo keeping referring to her as Padawan and her having to like juggle that stuff around all the time. Like would open so many doors. And I really emphasize that it annoyed me why she decided to go to the Undercity, because she wasn't a criminal or anything like that. Because the time where they chase down the droid, and she's used the winch to like try and save the speeder and Trace. It's not working, so she uses the Force and she pulls it back. And then the Twi'lek child sees her doing that and looks in awe, like, holy crap, as if like for some reason I felt like that moment would have made sense in Rebels when Jedi are supposed to be forbidden and all that stuff. But she looked at Ahsoka like, oh my God, you're a Jedi. What are you doing down here? That can't be right. And like almost as if she was going to be treated like a criminal. I'm like, what was the point of that? Like, why'd you have that reaction? A kid on Coruscant at that time would have been completely used to seeing Jedi doing stuff like that.
There's a whole temple full of them on the surface.
Like, it would have happened. They would have heard about stuff like that all the time. Like, it would not have been a shock whatsoever. But they decided to include that as if it was going to be as if it was going to be an issue. I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like,
it's just, it boils down to season 7 of the Clone Wars, even though it's helmed by Dave Filoni, which I commend so much for this series. He is amazing.
Yes.
He is the savior of Star Wars. And if you want, I feel like he should be in the Feige position for the Star Wars cinematic universe. I feel like it would be in good hands if he did that.
Having a dud in your like a slow point in your show, like it doesn't matter how bad I thought these episodes are, I still give him absolute praise for what the Clone Wars accomplished, and for the other series that he's worked on that I haven't seen yet, because he was obviously able to helm even more projects after this that were able to be finished.
Absolutely. And I
can't wait to dive into those. Like, I really need to finish this arc. I really need to finish Clone Wars so we can talk about Rebels and Resistance,
which he also did, and which also have effects to this, which is great, because he finished a series that's in the future from these episodes, which is great. But it's not the first time we've seen a final season of a show that had what many people call filler episodes, that wasted time, that we've had the conversation of, why are you putting this in there when we know this is the final season? But still, what blew me away is that it wasn't just a throwaway episode. It was 4. And it was 4 episodes of 12. It was a third of a season.
3.5 episodes of throwaway content.
It took you 3.5 to get to that last 15 minutes, which was did not justify the previous 3.5 episodes. I wasn't like, oh, this is what we got to. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I doubted you. It was like, finally, we got to something worth this, and it wasn't worth it. It was just like, okay, we're finally here to something I care about. It just dragged on. But I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but the final arc, the Siege of Mandalore, will make you forget about this completely. You will forget these 4 episodes ever happened.
Like, I'm super excited because, like I said, I saw the ratings and saw that they're all rated like the highest in the entire series. The entire series, not just the season, the entire series. These are rated as the top episodes
because they're effing amazing.
And I'm really excited to watch those. So I'm actually going to have those watched before we record next.
Okay.
So we can talk about
it. Won't be hard.
Away.
If you thought the first arc was easy to just watch, like you couldn't stop watching, these final 4 episodes, it's going to be smooth for you.
So I sat down and watched the first episode, like watched the first episode. I wasn't like, I was at my computer, but I wasn't editing. I wasn't working on, I wasn't working on photos or anything like that. And then I was like halfway through the second episode, and that was when I started up some stuff in the background. And I kept on turning to look, be like, something's going to happen here. Like I was just working on photos. I was still watching very intently. I can multitask that way. But yeah, it just, oh man, it like it wasn't until like that last episode where things started to get kind of exciting, and I'm like, it's way too late. Like,
Yeah.
because I felt like because you kept on calling this Ahsoka's arc, I was like, okay,
It's called Ahsoka's Journey. And
yeah,
what
yeah,
about
but
this is Ahsoka's Journey?
it really isn't. It's more like Ahsoka's charity errand.
Ahsoka's
Like,
Ahsoka, the passenger Ahsoka. Like it just felt like she was the passenger that wasn't allowed to leave the car.
they might as well call the Silver Angel the Silver Short Bus, because that's all it fucking felt like. It was such a crap fest. This arc.
was.
I was so sad, and I was a little bit mad at you for making me feel like it was going to be better. Because
Oh,
like you hyped me up for it, like it was going
I
to be
didn't
really
want to
good.
over spoil it, but I don't think I've ever like deceived you in how I felt about part of the season.
No, when I think back, I don't think that was the case. But at the time, I was like, I could have swore Josh was like hyping this up like it was going to be good. And when I thought about it, like, no, it like
Well,
he wouldn't be excited to hear what I say if he wouldn't be that excited to hear what I had to say about it unless he knew I was going to tear it apart.
there's a reason why the things that happen in this episode are hardly in the trailer. There's a reason why they're hardly on the posters. They didn't even want to promote this arc. Like if you go back and watch the trailer for this season, there might be 2 seconds of footage from a third of the show. They were that ashamed of it. They didn't even want to put it in the trailer. I mean, come on. That alone tells you that it was worthless. But anyway, I'm super excited for you to see it. So yeah, hopefully you see it by Thursday so we can talk about it then. But
Yeah, I will. I'll have it watched at that point. So
cool. Well, I don't know if we're still going to do trailer reactions later tonight, but do you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, I don't know about that either, but yeah, we can go ahead and yeah, I think we're about done with this episode unless you got something else you want to add.
I don't. I think we've talked about enough, and we covered a bunch of topics. And yeah, happy to have you back, buddy.
Yeah, good to be back. Thanks for holding down the fort for me. I felt like I was leaving my baby out to die for a little bit. Like, I was just like, I'm leaving him alone. Like he's not gonna he's not gonna be able to. Like I kept having this thought that you were gonna need me for something, or like and then I saw an email at some point that somebody was trying to like log into one of the accounts to get access to something we were doing. I'm like, crap, he's not gonna be able to get a hold of me. And he's gonna need to like log in to create something, or he's gonna need like he's gonna need an asset created of some kind. I was having a panic attack the whole freaking time. Like I don't know. It's leaving one of my main projects on like that's why I don't like vacations. That's why I don't take them very often, is because I don't like leaving stuff behind. So
well, I mean, not a year ago, which every time I say that I think about Heath Ledger in the Dark Knight trailer, but a year ago I feel like this would have derailed us for a month. And anytime we had an excuse to not do an episode, then it would take another couple weeks to get us back to do an episode. But we have been steady and straight on this since February, March-ish, and
we've been hitting it strong.
I didn't want to break that momentum, so I was recording something almost every night last week.
I was super happy. I was super happy to see that, even though you're like that, the fucking show kept on going on. The show must go on, and it went on. I was really happy to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. While I'm doing like I've got a lot of editing to do. And so while I'm working on that, I'm gonna try and pop in and listen to the last 2 episodes.
Cool. We did talk about some fun stuff. So yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, Nerf Herders, thanks for assembling. It's good to see you guys again. Hit the like button if you haven't already. If you liked this episode, hit the dislike button if you didn't. Be honest, we can take it. Leave a comment down below on anything. Like, respond to what we had. What did you guys think of Ahsoka's journey in Clone Wars Season 7? What did you think about any of the other stories that we talked about? What would you like us to talk about next time? It's all up in the air for you. Throw it down in the comments below. Let us know. Hit the subscribe button so you don't have to worry about missing out on the next episode that we put up when we air. Also, the other content that we're coming out with on a regular basis. the final episode of my Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order playthrough will be releasing. It'll probably be released already. Who knows? I can't remember what I scheduled that for. But it'll be out. And then
Soon.
Josh has some more. Yeah, it'll be out soon. Josh has some more videos coming your way from My Friend Showed Me and your anime series, and maybe we'll double up on one of the anime ones here pretty soon. Who knows?
Heck yeah.
We'll have to exchange some titles and see what happens there. But
there's also been a couple trailers that have released that we need to watch and review.
Yes.
So look out for those.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss like the technical side of those real quick and see what we can do with those. But until next time, we will see you later, Nerdferders. Peace.
See ya. It's not switching over. I can't switch. There we go. Yeah, normally we put the music on this, but we don't really do that. But you should be seeing the subscribe buttons and the click to other video buttons. Click on one of those.
I can't see any of it.
But it will pop up after I put the in-screen stuff on here. So it should be on there now, so people can see it now.
Awkward.